Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I am Professor Dr. Irfan Ahmed Mughal from Independent Medical College. Today I will deliver a brief lecture on implantation. So, what is implantation? It is actually the process by which the blastocyst is embedded in the endometrium. It commenced at the end of the first week and it is completed at the end of the second week. So this you can see here, the blastocyst or Morula state, then blastocystic cavity, the blastocyst, and it is going to embed totally into the endometrial cavity. Before going into the details of implantation, we must know the parts of the endometrium. So the pregnant endometrium is now known as decidua. So it has got three parts. One, which is towards the base of the embedded blastocyst, which is known as decidua basalis, and then the second part, which covers the whole blastocyst like a capsule, it is known as decidua capsularis, and the third, the remaining portion of the endometrial cavity, which is now known as decidua parietalis. So you must remember that endometrium is in secretory phase. It must be in the secretory phase. So Morula reached the cavity of the uterus on time. And the second very important thing is that the zona pellucida must be degenerated, and it occurs by day 4 after conception. If it is not degenerated, then possibility is there the implantation may not occur. So implantation, which begins on the 6th and 7th day after ovulation, when the trophoblast adhere to a properly prepared endometrium, which is known as decidua. Now the trophoblast then proliferate and form two distinct layers, the cytotrophoblastic cells or cytotrophoblast and syncytiotrophoblast. You must remember the differentiation between the cytotrophoblast and syncytiotrophoblast. It is the inner layer, this is the outer layer. This is mononucleated cell layer, this is multinucleated cell layer. Cell boundaries are clearly visible, and in this the cell boundaries are not clearly visible. So these cells which are present as an outer layer lose their plasma membranes and invade the endometrium. The cytotrophoblast is a mononucleated layer of the cells that is mitotically active and forms new cells that migrate into the increasing mass of the syncytiotrophoblast, where they fuse and lose their cell membrane. The cytotrophoblast, a rapidly expanding multinucleated mass in which no cell boundaries are clearly seen. But this syncytiotrophoblast is responsible rather to produce a hormone which is known as human chorionic gonadotrophin, which enters the maternal blood in the lacunae in the syncytiotrophoblast. And this HCG maintains the hormonal activity of the corpus luteum in the ovary during pregnancy and forms the basis for pregnancy test. So this implanted blastocyst is now covered over by the endometrial cells. Implantation is completed by the 14th day after ovulation. So here in this slide you can see the endometrium the uterine endometrial cells. This is the stroma containing the glands and the blood vessels. This total is the blastocyst. This is the blastocyst cavity. Inner cell mass, bluish cells, and then yellowish cells, they are the trophoblastic cells. And this inner cell mass, this pole is known as embryonic pole. This is known as embryonic pole. Because the inner cell mass is actually the future embryo, so it is more precious. So it has to embed first into the uterine cavity. In this, two types of cells can be seen. The mononucleated cells, these are the cytotrophoblastic cells, and these irregular outline like the finger-like projections having multiple nuclei, they are known as the syncytiotrophoblastic cells. And this is the endometrial stroma, which contains the blood vessels and the gland. This is inner cell mass, which will arrange into two layers in future. One is epiblast, second is hypoblast. So viability of the corpus luteum is maintained by human chorionic gonadotropins secreted by the trophoblast. So this is also responsible to continue to secrete progesterone and estrogen. So first, this will help the corpus luteum to secrete these hormones. But in the later stage, between the second and third month, the placenta assumes the role of progesterone and estrogen production. And it also provides nutrients, and it is responsible for removing the waste products. So this is the morula, the blastocyst, the inner cell mass, then the cytotrophoblastic cells, the syncytiotrophoblastic cells. This is endometrium, which is now known as decidua. Definitely the gap is there, invasion is there by the syncytiotrophoblastic cells. Then this is plugged off, or it is repaired again when it is totally embedded into the uterine cavity. So these are the different processes through which the implantation is completed. One is zona pellucida must be disappeared. Then polar trophoblasts touch the endometrium. They secrete the proteolytic enzymes. So dissolve the endometrium, then embed it into the endometrium, and then in the last coagulation, plug seal the surface. This you can see here. Now this is the again restoration of the decidua. So the blastocyst slowly, it slowly embeds itself in the endometrium. Then the cytotrophoblastic cells, these are the cytotrophoblastic cells, they displace endometrial cells in the central part of the implantation site. These are the decidual cells. The endometrial cells undergo apoptosis, which is also known as programmed cell death, which facilitates the invasion of the maternal endometrium during implantation. So proteolytic enzymes produced by the syncytiotrophoblast, they are present at the implantation site and involved in this process. So this trophoblast, as I have described earlier, it has got two parts: the syncytiotrophoblast, the multinucleated layer, the outer layer, the cytotrophoblastic cells, the mononucleated layers or inner layer. The implanted site usually is the posterior wall of the fundus and the body of the uterus. If it is implanted near the cervix or the outlet of the uterus, so it is known as placenta previa. And if it is implanted outside the uterine cavity, so this is known as ectopic pregnancy. Here you can see the blastocyst. So this total is blastocyst, the inner cell mass, the cytotrophoblastic cells, the syncytiotrophoblastic cells. This is the endometrium, or now known as decidua. So in the second, this is the healing side of the implantation. The plug is there. This is the electron microscopic photo of 12-day human embryo. So this is very important. You must remember. Now this is the summary of the implantation. The zona pellucida degenerates. It disappears, which results from enlargement of the blastocyst and degeneration caused by enzymatic lysis. The blastocyst adhere to the endometrial epithelium. The trophoblast differentiate into two layers, the syncytiotrophoblast and cytotrophoblast. The syncytiotrophoblast erodes endometrial tissue and the blastocyst starts to embed in the endometrium. Blood-filled lacunae appear in the syncytiotrophoblast. The blastocyst sinks beneath the endometrial epithelium and the defect is filled by a closing plug. Lacunar network formed by fusion of the adjacent lacunae. This is very important. The syncytiotrophoblast erodes endometrial blood vessels, allowing maternal blood to seep in and out of the lacunar network, thereby establishing a uteroplacental circulation. This is the first step, how the developing embryo, it gets its nourishment from the mother. The defect in the endometrial epithelium gradually disappears as the epithelium is repaired, and then primary chorionic villi, they develop. So this, you can see here, the uterine stroma contains the blood vessels and the uterine glands. And these cells, the dark green cells, which are now known as, this is photograph is taken from the Langman. This is definitely invade the blood vessels present in the in the uterine stroma. So in this way, a communication develops between the blood vessels present in the uterine stroma and the syncytiotrophoblast, between the syncytiotrophoblast, and this is known as uteroplacental circulation. The syncytiotrophoblast, this one, it produces a hormone which is known as HCG, which enters the maternal blood in the lacunae, and this HCG maintains the hormonal activity of the corpus luteum in the ovary during pregnancy and forms the basis for pregnancy test. So this is the lecture or a slideshow showing the implantation. So if my students, my dear students, if is there any problem, you can have a contact with me on Google Class as well as the WhatsApp in the groups. And this total lecture, it is based on the two books, The Developing Human by Moore and Prasad and The Medical Embryology by the Langman. So best of luck. अल्लाह आपके साथ हो. अच्छा अच्छा पढ़ो, अच्छा अच्छा सीखो. थैंक यू वेरी मच बेटा. अल्लाह हाफिज़.